We've never ever seen a generation or a group of people so angry, so miserable, so medicated.
My body, my choice.
The feel when we control your bodies.
The messaging from the left is still so anti-male.
We will keep you down forever.
The women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions.
If you are an American woman, you have every right to choose in the world.
I mean, I hate to break it to you ladies, but you might not have had a choice in the matter.
Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thong.
I think it would be awesome for the looming fertility crisis if everyone here had 7 children. People say no less than 7. I think 7's a good start. I think 7's good. Or whatever number, 4, 5, 6.
Ever use these on your butthole? It doesn't work out well. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of iDubbbz Complains. Today, I'm going to be complaining about a little bit of a heavier topic than portion sizes at Cold Stone. This is a video about abortion. It's a very big topic, a very serious topic, I know. I'm going to treat it with all the respect that it deserves, all the sanctity that it deserves. Back in November, there was a trend amongst Twitter incels to tweet out some version of your body, my choice. And for all of the self-hating women, it was my body, his choice. Of course, a lot of these accounts either went private or are suspended, which is quite the accomplishment to do on Elon Musk's Twitter.
Trying to speak to wide range of audiences here.
But for a lot of these accounts that remain active, with a couple of clicks onto their profile, it's pretty fucking obvious why they're tweeting out the things that they're tweeting out. They're just hateful people. We got a woman wearing a Confederate flag saying, my body, his choice. Now, how would this get worse? Oh, Nazi shit. My body, his choice, Nazi shit. And also selling courses on how to be more feminine. My body, his choice, Nazi shit. Your body, my choice, and
Hitler!
Okay. I think that'll do for sample size. I just wanted to show you guys that if you did decide to look at any of these people's accounts, you're not gonna find an educated person, you're not gonna find a kind person, you're just gonna find a nasty piece of shit. Now let's talk about a woman's value. What is a woman's value? I guess you can narrow it down to reproductive organs. Like, okay, her value is giving birth.
That is what the secularist left would like, apparently, is you take away the thing that makes women most women, i.e. getting married and having children. You take those things away from them, and then that will make them the happiest they have ever been. There's only one problem. There is no data to support that anywhere on Earth.
To take the part of you that is the most unique to your sex and then discard that or treat that as though that is a downside to who you are, it's antithetical to what womanhood is. It's very puzzling.
It's not even remotely puzzling. Let's just stop for a moment and think about why this is so fucking stupid. Why would you discard what makes you so incredible as a male? Your ability to bust. Your ability to bust is just so fantastic.
The Rust Belt or bust. Bust through their front door, bust you in the mouth. When she loved the bus. Remember that time when Kamala Harris loved the bus? They presented her with the bus from The Fugitive.
I mean, you create the seed of life, Ben. Why would you discard that like it's a downside? It's not a downside. You should be busting left and right, Benjamin. Benjamin Shapiro, you are the bust king. Women do not want to be known as, I was gonna say the bust queens. I think a lot of women would prefer not to be known as baby maker, and she kind of does art on the side. Baby maker, and she does baking. She makes a pretty good souffle. She's a baby maker, and she sells some clothes on Depop. They're not going to forget that this is what they do. They have reminders every month of what they are and what they can do with their body. They don't need that to be their title. Just like you and I don't need Buster Extraordinaire as our titles.
Women find fulfillment in being married and having children. I can testify to this in my own life. My wife, of course, very famously a doctor, went to UCLA Medical School, brilliant woman. Also, the place where she easily finds the most fulfillment, and she'll tell you this, bar none, without a doubt, being a mom, being a wife. Those are the places where she finds the most fulfillment.
That's awesome. I would love for a lot of women to have the choice that your wife had and be able to postpone their pregnancy until a later date when they finish college, maybe have a stable job, and maybe aren't with like an abusive partner. You know, that would be ideal.
My wife's a doctor. She currently is not practicing because she's still taking care of the new baby and our 3 other children. And I will venture to say that she works harder taking care of our kids and doing work in the community than she did as a doctor sometimes. Because it turns out that career women, like, for example, my wife, a doctor, the thing she's most proud of is being a mom. I mean, like, this is very obvious stuff.
Ben Shapiro will constantly use his wife as an example of what is fulfilling to a woman, specifically a mother and a wife. But he does this after his wife has graduated, worked as a doctor, and now has kids. And I think the reason that your wife finds fulfillment out of being a mother is because she has something to compare it to, which is a career. And you can't play this game where you're like, my wife ended up finding more fulfillment, therefore women are going to find more fulfillment out of being a mother. Let them decide that on their own. Now, Ben and his cohorts obviously think that men and women have particular roles when it comes to being a parent.
Mothers are there to nurture, males are there to protect.
I'm talking about traditional roles, like wife or mother for a woman, or father and protector for a man. The great joy of life in being a wife and being a mom, the great joy in life of being a father and a husband and a protector and a provider.
The women will create more life, something men cannot do, and the men will protect them.
And especially as the head of the household, the male, you must constantly be looking at the threats, right? You must constantly be looking at the attack vectors.
Attack vectors? Are you a fucking fighter pilot? What are you protecting your kids from? Just come out and say it. You're protecting your kids from drag shows. We're in the 21st century. You need to wipe your kids' ass. You need to teach them good values. And you need to play ball with them. Like, what is this protector shit? You ain't protecting anything.
There are three types of people in this world. There are predators, there are infants, and the protectors of infants. You fall into one of those three categories.
Oh shit, I didn't know those were the rules that we were playing this game with. Damn it. Okay, I'm not an infant. I don't think I've ever protected an infant. Oh no. No. Wait, back up. I don't like these rules. I'm not an infant. I'm not a protector of an infant. Okay, how about this? There's three types of people in this world. Pedophiles, protectors of pedophiles, and people named iDubbbz. Yeah, that's what I thought. I really hate this idea of getting so, like, laser focused on these particular roles. That's the beauty in being a human being. We can both do these roles. Like, what the fuck is a single mother, if not a provider, if not a protector, if not a nurturer? She does all of the things that the man does. So why are we giving this title to men? Men and women are protectors, they're nurturers. They do all the things. By the way, the reason I'm saying this is just to suggest what they're saying is horseshit. If you have found in your personal life that your husband going off to work is a better setup and it's just a lot easier for you, or your wife staying at home taking care of the kids is better, that's awesome. More power to you. That's great. But we shouldn't pretend that our lives are other people's lives. When left-wing women were protesting their rights being infringed, Ben Shapiro and Matt Gaetz both decided it was a good idea to mock them for being ugly or unfuckable.
So apparently, there are a bunch of left-wing women who are now declaring a sex strike. I mean, I hate to break it to you ladies, but you might not have had a choice in the matter, depending on exactly who you are anyway.
The women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions. Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
I feel like this is important to highlight because I feel like it's very telling that there isn't much ammo left in the chamber when it comes to women's reproductive rights. When Ben Shapiro is resorting to mocking women and saying that they're ugly, well, I mean, let's be real, he didn't say they're ugly. He just implied that they were ugly. He was basically calling them ugly in lawyer speak.
You might not have had a choice in the matter, depending on exactly who you are anyway.
Something I've noticed with a lot of these right-wing men is I think they're watching that pickup artist guy from, what was he from, like MTV or something? The guy with the big fuzzy hat?
Are you ready to know the 5 attraction switches that exist in every woman ubiquitously?
Because they're taking this approach of like telling women what they want and telling women what they need and what would make them happy and what makes them unhappy.
Having 3 kids is a really big deal and will make you happier. And a lot of women want to be stay-at-home moms.
Most women want to make babies. Most women want to have babies.
Most women are happier at home. They are pretending that they like working.
But you're talking to the women. They know. The women are going to tell you what makes you happy and what makes you fulfilled. Why are you doing it to them?
Like a perfect example is like the pickup artists. What they say is that really with women, it's the same bag of tricks. You know, they're not fully rational. I don't believe that like men, they possess a sort of full rationality.
Our attraction circuit looks at a woman's replication value more than her survival value. And it is all because of one device that is hooked up to her brain that she has hardwired into her chassis that we do not possess. A uterus. This uterus is going to change her behaviors.
Most women want to make babies.
Most women are happier at home.
Most women want to have babies.
Most women like making homes and like raising children.
But most women are not funny. You know what it is? Most women are not willing to embarrass themselves.
They're not doing the one thing that they want to do, which is to get married and have children.
The vast majority of women are happier having kids.
If it's so fucking obvious that this is what women want, you shouldn't have to be chirping like you are. It should just be automatic. You should have some faith that these women aren't children, and that even if they're led astray and they get a career as a lawyer, after doing that for a few years, 10 years, they'll be like, okay, I'm ready for something different. The fact that they continue to spew this rhetoric is so fucking insane to me, because so many of these men are married to career women. Women who got a job as a doctor. Women who went through college and ended up having a career and did their career for a while and then had children.
We should say, focus on family formation in your early 20s, then go to college in your late 30s. And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, you know, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true. If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry. It's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s. But again, you have your corporate job and cats, so I thought you know.
I'm pretty unsympathetic to the fact that Charlie Kirk thinks his wife is hotter in her 20s than she is now. What I take issue with is the fact that he's telling so many young people that they should get married and have kids in their 20s and postpone their careers till their 30s and 40s. But that is not what he did, and that's not what many of his colleagues did. If that's not what you did, you need to pair your rhetoric with, I fucked up. He should be telling all these women on this podcast, I fucked up. Me and all my conservative colleagues who spent our early 20s grinding, we shouldn't have done that.
All this talk about how you're going to be fulfilled having a career as a high-powered lawyer at 50 with no kids is nonsense.
A lot of them take on jobs that, you know, they know is not going to result in some budding career. Like it's usually in fashion or textiles or something like that.
That if they put their entire life's meaning into their credential, into where they went to school, into what kind of job they have, if you put all of your life's meaning into that, you're going to be a sad, lonely, pathetic person, and you're going to know it internally, so you're going to project it onto people who have actually built something more meaningful with their lives.
It is crazy the amount of strays that are coming out of these people's mouths. All of their rhetoric can apply to Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Laura Ingraham, all of these like right-wing women who decided to focus in their 20s on grinding. Like many men are able to do, they decided to forego having kids and wait until they were in their 30s, or I think in some cases their 40s, to have kids. You're not going to hear Ben Shapiro lampooning Candace Owens for waiting until she was 30 to have kids. There's a clip of this young conservative woman who's trying to like reach Charlie Kirk and basically say like, what about like women having careers? And he just like completely like shuts her down.
Many women, a majority, like 90+% deep down, have this urge to reproduce and to raise children, and we are telling them to forsake that and go become a CEO of a shoe company.
A better way to propose feminism in the public media would be not to eliminate having children and tell women that they shouldn't have children, but to figure out your career first before you decide to like settle down, because you can't really undo that once you have kids.
So I think it's the exact opposite. I think you should have kids first, then do your career, because which one has a timetable on it?
True, but like once you have kids, you're committed to that, and you can't really have as much of a career, so you should kind of define your like, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Kids are way more important than being, you know, a data scientist at Dropbox.
But
this clip pisses me off so much because he's being very disingenuous. He's trying to, like, in this moment, elevate the role of a mother as being the most important thing ever. And you would be stupid to have your sights set on any of these other career options. A data scientist, well, you'd be a fucking moron to want to be a data scientist at Dropbox.
Kids are way more important than being a data scientist at Dropbox.
What happens when you speak to men? You want to spend your life going to different college campuses because you think the textbooks are too woke? That's like the most unimportant thing ever. Pro-life people will often boil down the reasons women have abortions into like 3-ish categories. 1, to protect the life of the mother. 2, rape or incest. And 3, convenience.
And now they want to be able to use scientific medical technology out of convenience? Vast majority of them are abortions of convenience and choice. So most are abortions out of convenience. 25% of all abortions in this country are done out of economic convenience. Do you think that's okay? We're going to keep on allowing abortion out of narcissism, convenience, and not taking responsibility.
Now, obviously, convenience can include many things. In fact, I have a long list of things. This is from Oklahoma. There's only so many states in the U.S. who will actually track the reasons a woman got an abortion, and each state does it a bit differently. I found that Oklahoma is very thorough. And when you plot all of these reasons on a pie chart, it actually starts to look a little bit different than this pie chart where it's like, oh, look at all of these abortions out of convenience. There are a lot of extremely valid reasons as to why someone would get an abortion that would fall under Charlie Kirk's umbrella of convenience. If having a child is going to affect your mental health at all, abortion out of convenience. Abusive partner, anyone in your life who's fucking abusive and is going to be close to your child, that would be an abortion out of convenience. Not having the finances, literally not being able to afford taking care of a child. These are all very valid reasons to get an abortion. He's being very manipulative by saying that women are doing this out of convenience because you would never use that word for other difficult life choices. If you put your elderly father in a home because you have 4 kids you have to take care of and a wife that relies on you, no one's going to say that you did that out of convenience. They're going to say, oh yeah, I can understand. That's a lot of people to take care of, and one additional person, would make it a lot harder. On the topic of abortion, euphemisms are very popular on both sides.
All the euphemisms the left has to use with regard to the termination of the unborn, which itself is a euphemism with regard to the killing of the unborn, all the euphemisms, termination, abortion, Planned Parenthood, all of this stuff just demonstrates they don't want to talk about the issue, because when they talk about the issue, people immediately get uncomfortable. And they get uncomfortable because deep down in the human soul, something knows that there is something deeply wrong with a society that allows the killing of 1 million unborn children every year out of a perverse sense of authenticity and entitlement.
No, Ben, they get uncomfortable because it's fucking gross. No one wants to hear that shit. It's the same thing with circumcision. I'm sure you're familiar with circumcision. Instead of using the word circumcision, how about we say cutting a baby's dick off? Oh, we don't say that because it's fucking gross? Okay, well there you go. There's your answer.
It's a slaughter in our country. It's 1 million babies every single year. I'm going to be able to have sex how I want, and if I have to go put a dagger through, or have someone put a dagger through a child for me, then so be it.
Sure.
What the fuck is Charlie Kirk saying? He's talking about using an enchanted dagger to kill a baby. I don't think babies are being aborted via daggers all that often. Most abortions right now are with the pill. It's like over 60% or something.
The baby fights, the baby struggles, the baby dodges, the baby avoids, they break the neck of the baby.
The baby ducks, the baby dives, the baby dodges. All of these women know what abortion is. They're not fucking confused by it. They know that it's killing the baby. Now, Charlie Kirk knows that him labeling women as murderers would be a very unpopular take, but a lot of women voluntarily get abortions and oftentimes are relieved when they get them. So to cope with that idea, Charlie has come up with this fantasy that all of these women are just ill-informed.
I do not believe women, largely when they get abortions, know what they're doing. They're not given ultrasounds for their baby. They're not informed of the gruesome and graphic details surrounding their procedure. Instead, the justice system should be focused on the abortionists that are actually doing that procedure.
Do you think that people who procure abortions, women specifically,
Yes.
a woman who procures an abortion should go to jail for getting one?
Absolutely, yeah. They're the moral equivalent of Auschwitz.
Really?
Yes.
Millions of women are
not the
basically
women.
the same as like Nazi
Not the women.
death
No,
camp
the
guards.
women are victims. They're lied to. 90% of women do not see an ultrasound before they have an abortion. They have no idea what's happening to them. They're the victims here.
You hear that? They have no idea what's happening. These women are fucking dumber than rocks. They have no idea what's happening to them unless you give them an ultrasound. Because women, they have this weird quirk where like they don't understand what's happening unless it's like really foggy and scratchy and black and white. That's why like if you show a woman a map, it's not gonna make any sense to her. But if you make it black and white and you add like a Gaussian blur to it, it'll make sense to them.
The justice system should be focused on the abortionists that are actually doing that procedure.
All the guilt and all of the illegality is put onto doctors and nurses. So if you're in the voter bloc, you can feel safe knowing that Charlie Kirk doesn't think you're a murderer. He just thinks that you're stupid. Charlie Kirk is very inconsistent with his policies on welfare. It feels very like a debate bro-brained. If he's arguing a pro-life position or some other social issue, he'll have no problem bringing up the fact that there's plenty of welfare available.
But we have food stamps for anyone that needs it. We also have welfare cash for anyone that wants it. We have food stamps, we have Section 8 housing.
And then he'll talk to other people and describe his true feelings, which is, I want to eliminate welfare.
I reject those parts of government.
Of course. Income tax, welfare?
Yeah, that would be a good start. Food stamps are too much. Housing, urban development, Department of Education. Maybe we should be less focused on government welfare and more focused on work and literacy education, bringing fathers back into the home.
And then sometimes he'll propose his own bizarre welfare program, which has less strings attached to it.
I believe that for every child you get, you should get cash from the federal government. Did you know that?
That's great. How much cash do you want them to have?
$10,000, $12,000 a year. I think we need to increase the birth rate in our country.
With the amount of inconsistency I'm hearing from Charlie Kirk on welfare, especially as it relates to people who are struggling, I would not trust a single fucking word that this guy has to say. He also just outright lies to this poor college student who's questioning welfare spending as it relates to abortions.
But would you support expanding welfare to help, because abortion's often an economic issue as well? You wouldn't to prevent it?
No.
That just sounds evil to me.
Well,
that just
hold on. That's a good, interesting point. So we've expanded social welfare. We spent $20 trillion in the last 60 years. Has that made abortions go down?
I don't believe so.
The answer is no. It's gone up. So actually, the more we spend on social welfare, the more abortions we have. So you're coming at it from a faulty premise.
I feel like Charlie Kirk has been doing this long enough to know that spending has gone like this and abortions have gone like this. What the fuck? It is like... It's one thing if you want to argue that the abortion rate has gone down for separate reasons, but you have to make that argument. You can't just like try to dunk on a college student by lying to them. He's also obsessed with mentioning that there's a adoption waiting list of 2 million people.
So there's no such thing as an unwanted human being in this country. We have twice as many people on the adoption list than we have abortions in this country.
There's 2 million people on the adoption waiting list right now, and there's 1 million abortions every single year. There are twice as many people on the adoption waiting list. There's 2 million families right now on the adoption waiting list, and there's 1 million abortions every single year.
This is another one of those situations where he's trying to set up a really straightforward equation that even the dumbest people can solve. Like, oh shit, so 1 million abortions every year, 2 million adoptive parents. That means we could stop abortions right now. That's not how that shit works. The foster care system sucks. The adoption system sucks.
There's no such thing as unwanted children in this country. So the idea of an unwanted pregnancy is statistically untrue.
There absolutely is such thing as an unwanted person. They're in the foster care system right now. There's a lot of homeless people who are unwanted, and they've been unwanted. Over half of homeless people have been in the foster care system. This like pie in the sky, like everything's fine idea of there's no such thing as an unwanted person is factually untrue, and I don't think it's helpful for the reality that we're living in. Charlie has this very dumb gotcha that he likes to play with college kids.
One of these babies was conceived in rape. One of these babies was conceived in a consensual relationship. Which one's which? There's 2 ultrasounds I have. One is a baby conceived in rape. One is a baby conceived by a loving couple. Which one is which? Yeah. Somebody in this audience is conceived in rape. Who is it?
I can't point
exactly.
that out.
Because babies conceived in rape get the same human rights as babies conceived in a loving relationship.
All right, Charlie, which of these blurry blood clots is a heavy period or an abortion? Which of these blurry blood clots is an abortion and which is a miscarriage? Whichever one you say is an abortion, the person whose picture that is, they're going to prison. If it isn't clear that these guys have some fucking breeding obsession at this point, Let these clips be an example.
Just get married early. Like, reject the siren song of modernity and have lots of kids.
So what they found is either don't have any kids at all or have lots of kids. Have like 4 kids, right? Which is what we intend on doing. We intend on having at least 4 children. Just to tick off the feminists, I may make it 5. I would define sexual success, frankly, as being in a loving marriage where you have lots of kids.
Get married and have lots of kids. I recommend all young people to get married early and have lots of children. Do not believe the secular lie. I gotta wait. No.
Don't believe the secular lie. Unless you're me and all of my colleagues, me and all of my conservative colleagues, we all waited till we were 30 to have kids. But I think all of you in the audience, you should shit out kids when you're 16. That would be awesome. When Charlie Kirk needs to come up with practical solutions for real world problems, he doesn't suggest new laws or policies. He instead starts thinking about the world in terms of a Sims game.
Putting fathers back in the home. We should be putting fathers back in the home. For someone to bring fathers in the home, the number one way to lower crime is to put dads back in homes.
Yeah.
Fathers in the home. I'd love to put fathers back in the home.
Are you proposing legislation to bring fathers back in the home?
But I believe most women have a biological predisposition to procreate and to nurture and to be mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not a very traditional person. You might say that I'm infected with the woke mind virus, and I think it's a good idea that fathers go back into the home. I don't know what the right phrasing is.
Fathers in the home.
I'll just say fathers in the home. I also believe in fathers in the home. But why would I ever say that? To get an applause?
To the cowardly men that impregnate women and disappear, shame on you, and you're a big part of this problem.
100% correct. Anyone can point to statistics and say, it shows here that when you have this way of life, you have better outcomes, and your children have better outcomes. All right, so like, how are we going to employ that for people who don't want to live their life that way? I think a lot of these guys would do a lot better if they would just start fucking listening to the women that are around them.
Do you have any friends who've ever had an abortion?
Yes.
Okay.
And I grieve for them.
You grieve for them?
Because they were taken advantage of by people like you and the abortion industry.
Right, they were taken advantage of. That's how they feel.
That's how I feel. Many of them, by the way.
Charlie Kirk has friends who got abortions who don't feel like they were taken advantage of. He feels that way for them.
My sister, she'll say things to me like, maybe I should have delayed having kids, maybe I should have went to school, maybe I should have did this or that. And it's like, Lindsay, you've been a great mom. Your children are happy, they're healthy. People like my sister should not feel like the cultural messaging is your life is inadequate. The people who are sending that message should feel that their life is inadequate.
This is a normal complaint for every person to have. If you focus on one thing, there might be this looming regret that you have that you never did that other thing, that you never got a career, that you were never a doctor, that you never went on a backpacking trip, whatever the fucking thing is. That's a normal thing, and it's not the cultural messaging. These guys talk about how hard it is to raise kids.
You know, kids make you unhappier in some ways, but a lot happier in other ways. In fact, what polls show is that a lot of couples who don't have kids are pretty happy. Hell, I mean, I can understand why. I've had kids, I've not had kids. I understand. It would be fun to go out with my wife every night. It'd be great not to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on children.
Raising children is hard. It is a death to yourself. It is one of the most difficult things you can do.
Saying that having kids is a death to yourself and one of the hardest things you'll ever do is, I think, very truthful. But these are statements that you're saying at 31 years old. How the fuck do you expect someone who's 18 to be able to handle that?
How'd they get pregnant?
What do you mean? They had sex, unprotected, or an accident?
So they want the orgasm without the responsibility. All the loose lifestyle, but none of the responsibility.
I think these guys have a very own up to it attitude where they have this kind of internal feeling of okay, I did the dirty deed, therefore I should own up to this responsibility and spend my life raising a child. They think that they need to suffer in that way and that the child needs to suffer in that way, but that's not the case. You can recognize that it was maybe a bad thing that you did, but that's very personal and individual to everyone. And if you personally feel like there's something that you need to own up to and take responsibility for, you're well in your right to do that. While researching this video, I discovered that the topic of abortion is kind of fracturing the right wing. They have a lot of different ideas of when life starts.
Although I consider myself begrudgingly pro-choice, and we can pick what that means.
I'm a pro-life absolutist and totally respect disagreements on the issue.
I lost my job at a
conservative network because I said I was pro-choice.
People who call themselves pro-life are not actually as pro-life as I am. They're like, well, I'm pro-life, which means like abortion in the first trimester.
They're not as pro-life as I am. I think the sperm is alive. Dude, you're the one who said that you would have your daughter keep her rapist baby.
Would you want her to go through that and carry her rapist baby?
That's awfully graphic. The
People.
answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
You're a loser. It's more important that you win a debate instead of being a little bit emotionally empathetic.
I conceived, and I've told this story before, all 3 of my children via IVF, but some hardcore pro-lifers, and I understand their position, I respect their views, but I completely disagree with them. Think this is a win because they don't like IVF because it creates embryos, not all of which get used.
I respect their views, but I completely disagree with them. This is why Democrats lose elections. Because, like, when Megyn Kelly disagrees vehemently with her party, she's like, but I totally respect their views. I gotta hold it down for my brothers. It's like, fuck you.
Here's what's ironic about me, Mr. Right-Winger, when it comes to abortion, and I even say this. I go, look, when I was younger, I got a few girls pregnant, and I was glad there were Planned Parenthoods, or whatever the f***.
Right now, you're watching Hit Like, they're pro-life, and they can laugh.
Man, that's a crazy admission of who's watching your program. I'll wrap this thing up by saying that these guys are well aware that they're losing the war.
It seems to me this is always going to be a loser for Republicans.
I understand it's not politically feasible. I understand people like abortion, but I'm going to keep on standing for moral truth, even if it's unpopular. There will be some people that say, Charlie, stop talking about this issue. It's a losing issue. First of all, who cares?
And so we've lost the culture war to a certain extent on abortion. And what Donald Trump is doing right now is trying to win this election.
Based on the vibes I'm getting, it really feels like a lot of these people are not that committed to the pro-life movement. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for this video. I hope it was enjoyable for you to watch. And a big shout out and thanks to all of my patron legends and all of the channel members. All right, guys, now I'm going to demonstrate the type of punch that I would use to perform an abortion legally. You feel that?
Oh, that fucking hurt.
We are the youth of the nation. We are the youth.
We have more people that have more access to water thanks to the free market. No, there are savaged cultures out there. Absolutely. Just go to the Middle East. That's the weird. I don't know what kind of society they're talking about, but I believe most women have a biological predisposition to procreate and to nurture and to be mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that.